Hi, my name is Jim, and today I want to talk to you about help. My Monstera Albo or Thai constellation or aurea is turning brown and or dying. What do I do? Well, don't get discouraged because usually it's a simple fix. I'm going to talk to you about the 7 different reasons why, going from the least probable to the most probable. I'm going to explain to you how to recognize which reason it is and how to cure it. So let's get started. The least likely, in my opinion, has to do with just physical damage. For example, like let's say it was shipped to you. The leaf, if it got crushed or bent, you would see a strong crease mark that would turn brown. Or if you'd been touching it and someone damaged it, it would turn brown in that area. So most likely you're not looking into that, but that can be a reason why they can turn brown. The leaves can show damage. Take heart if that's the reason, because that's super simple to fix. Just give it good growing conditions, and do see my video about how to grow, propagate, and sell these Monstera for explanations about growing. So that was the first one. The second one is old age. As you can see from this plant here, see this bottom leaf? This bottom leaf is actually several years old, and it is beginning to just generally yellow. And how you know if it's old age, and these leaves can live for years, but how you know that they're old age is usually you lose a leaf or two towards the bottom of the plant. It will gradually yellow, atrophy. You just remove it, and that's nothing to worry about either. As long as you're providing good growing conditions, it will continue to grow. And if your plant gets leggy, which it will eventually, you can chop it off. And again, see my video about how to grow and propagate and sell Monstera, but you can chop it off and start several new plants. So that's the way to handle that. Now, the third reason why is dryness. So if you have been letting your soil get like powder dry, these plants come from places where they get plenty of moisture. They're not going to like that. You're going to notice browning on the edge, like this old leaf. It's going to start browning on the edges and slowly going in. Also, Monstera will sometimes curl their leaves, and something for maybe more advanced growers, people that have lots of houseplants, you'll notice when it's dry, it just doesn't look as shiny. And even the tone of green changes a little bit when a plant needs water. But you know if you've been keeping it bone dry. And if that's the reason, then a pretty simple fix, isn't it? Sometimes when potting soil gets really dry, if you try to water it, it will actually repel water. So if it's gotten to that point where it's powder dry, take it into the bathtub, put some warm, just lukewarm room temperature water through, and you might have to do that several times until the soil finally starts to accept moisture again. And then just try to keep it evenly moist. Again, see my video on how to grow Monstera for watering advice, but just keep it evenly moist. All right, so now the fourth reason, too much variegation. Now this is going to be kind of embarrassing, but if it helps somebody, all right, if it helps somebody, check this out. These produce lots of variegation, which is of course why we love them, right? But if the leaves are too variegated, especially I've noticed this yellow, the aurea variety is even more so. If there's too much variegation, the plant is going to resent it, and it's going to notice that, oh, this part of the leaf has no chlorophyll. It's not making any food for me. So I'm going to get rid of it. And you'll notice that it will try to get rid of the areas that are highly variegated. Like this was all beautiful yellow here, except for this area here. And of course it's trying to save that. Excuse the train, sorry about that. We have a train like pass every 1 second it seems like. But anyway, so what can you do about that? Well, there's not much you can do about that except for try to choose ones, if you're buying plants, that have a little bit more green, a little bit more balance, especially the yellow ones. And then when you get sections of growth that have a lot of yellow, know that they're probably going to brown, and try to start, like, check out this new leaf. This new leaf has a little bit more balance. Unfortunately, this whole side is going to be yellow, so I don't know. But here, there's much more green. We'll try our best with it. Try to propagate ones, try to buy ones that have a good balance, because that's the best predictor of how it will grow in the future. So that was number 4. Now number 5, insufficient light. Well, just like too much variegation causes the plant to want to brown some of the areas, not enough light will also cause it to brown areas, because the plant realizes, oh, I can't support all these leaves, and it will try to balance itself by getting rid of extra leaf space and trying to grow really long towards the light. Puts its energy that way instead. So you want to grow it in bright indirect light. And again, please see my video on how to grow, propagate, and sell Monstera to have a fuller understanding of lighting. All right, so that was number 5. Now number 6 is fertilizing when the plant is dry. People that are new to houseplants, and even some of us old timers, we will mix up some diluted houseplant fertilizer and dump it on when it's time to water. That can actually cause the plant to brown. You will notice it will be browning. Again, you'll notice that kind of browning, just like dryness. You will notice it coming in from the edges. What happens is the plant and roots are dry. Then you put this fertilizer, which it's mostly salts. It's different kinds of salts that the plant uses, different mineral salts. And it's almost like just drinking seawater to the plant. And it shocks the roots. It can't pull up the water that it needs, and then you start getting damage. All right, and then finally, how to fix that? What you need to do is just simply, before you fertilize, make sure the soil, I would do it after I have watered and the soil is moist. I would gently fertilize the top. You don't have to saturate the whole pot with fertilizer. Just gently fertilize the top after you've already watered it. And then next time when you water, that water will flush the fertilizer through down in here, where there should still be a little bit of moisture down in here when you water. So it's not going to shock it as much. And it's also going to be extremely diluted at that point. Okay, so for the last one, number 7. What is a really common reason for browning? Well, if you're like me, you really like your plants, especially if you've got some Monstera, Albo, or Area, or Thai constellation that you want to sell. And so you may water and fertilize it a lot. And what's going to happen is, if you fertilize too much, and again, see my video for fertilizing recommendations for these, how to grow, propagate, and sell. If you fertilize too much, again, it's going to be like drinking seawater for the plant. It's going to be too much. It's going to throw the minerals out of balance in the soil, and you're going to get burning. And if there's too much water, you've been watering it too much, the roots can rot. And the roots rotting is it's like a death sentence for the plant. I want to show you, over by the window I have a Thai constellation. I don't know if you can see it by the window, Thai constellation. When I had gotten that from an online store, it was just a little small rooted plant. And it was packaged really moist. I planted it, it was fine, and then it stopped growing. And the leaves began to curl, almost like kind of a dryness situation. I'm like, what's going on? Why isn't it growing? Why does the soil always stay wet, but it looks like it's getting dry? And it's because when I took the plant out, the roots were turning black and were rotting. Now roots can be brown, they could even possibly look a little black because they're growing in dirt, but these are rotting. And this can happen, too much water, too much fertilizer, especially the water. And so what I did is I cut it off the roots, which you need to do this if this is happening. It's the most likely way to save it. And sad to say, the black was going up into the stem. And so I had to keep cutting higher and higher until I finally found some clean tissue. I then sterilized the end of it, grew it in water to get it started, get it rooted. And while I was doing that, it still tried to rot, and I had to cut it up even higher. But finally, it stabilized, and it rooted, and I have a plant to this day, and it's starting to take off. But that's what you got to do if the roots are just totally rotting, sad to say, and you could lose the plant. I hope these have helped. You can let me know if you have more questions, or if you have some ideas for me too about how to grow these well. Thanks.